On November 9th, 2016, I was working on the Hillary Clinton campaign as a regional Get Out the Vote director in central Pennsylvania. This was my eighth campaign, so I'm used to campaigns. The things I saw in the campaign when I got on the inside, which was only about a month before the end of the election, were things that I haven't seen in a very, very long time. The things the voters were saying, the things the volunteers were saying, the way the operations were run. I was getting responses and feelings back from people that I just haven't seen when you're that close out from an election. I think now we obviously all understand why this was such a different election. But I can tell you something did happen on November 9th. What I believe happened is that for the first time, Americans voted against what I call is America's core ideology or core value system. We're talking about things like freedom of press, freedom of speech, life, liberty, property, equality, access to equal opportunity, all these different types of core principles that the Constitution lays out for all human beings, especially in the United States of America. It is the number one set of principles that has made America so great, so wonderful, and a magnet for the world's best and brightest to come from all over. And of course, the reason why people in America want to stay and live and work. And they believe that they are free. And they believe that they can have the best potential life here in America. And it doesn't have to do with just the fact that we attract the best corporations, the best companies. It doesn't have to do with the fact that we have the best universities. None of that existed in the beginning. What existed were the core principles, which were completely innovative for that time period. Now, I believe for the first time in 100 years, probably since World War I, and with Woodrow Wilson right after World War I, that we voted against that ideology. We voted against that type of progress, that magnetism that actually makes America a phenomenal place and a center for all the world's best and brightest. And also all of the world's people in general. We're looked up to economically, we're looked up to in terms of the military, we're also looked up to in terms of our soft power and cultural power. But none of that can exist if we reject America's core ideology, which is the reason why everybody wants to come here. Those things I just talked about just now. Now, I believe for the first time people, maybe unknowingly, voted against that. How so? The way Donald Trump came to power, he basically trashed a lot of those core ideological notions, a lot of those core values, the way he actually came to power. I don't have a problem with a Republican president. I don't have a problem with Donald Trump becoming president. I mean, obviously, I completely disagree with everything that Donald Trump is, but the fact that he became president is okay. That's part of our system. It is the way he became president. Now, I know everyone's talking about this. That's fine. But the things that people are not talking about is that when people validated the fact that you can rise to power by scapegoating and by stepping on other people to get there, that's when you start to break down what makes America phenomenal to be in to begin with. Now, if you look at the major five empires before us, we're talking about the Persians, the Dutch, the British, the Mongolians, and the Romans. Those major empires, almost every single one of them fell for economic and military purposes, but that wasn't the reason why they actually fell. They fell because of, at one point in their empiredom, there was a core ideological and value switch. I'll give you an example. Rome was incredibly successful until it adopted Christianity, when it started persecuting all of its subjects across the world. At that point, it led to an economic crisis 150 years later on. So all these empires fell due to an ideological and value switch change. Now, that's what I believe is at risk here. So when I saw that actually happen, when I saw people actually validate Donald Trump and his value system, whether they believed he was a racist or not, whether they believed he used discrimination to gain to power or not, whether they believed that his scapegoating, which is incredibly dangerous for any world leader to do nowadays, whether they believed scapegoating was okay or not, it didn't matter. What they voted for is fear. They were scared about Hillary Clinton becoming president for some reason. That's okay. They wanted something different. They wanted something new. They thought Donald Trump might be that hand grenade walking into Washington, D.C. But none of that matters. My point is that for the first time, they voted against American core ideology. They allowed someone to break apart what made America great to begin with, and they allowed him to come to power on the backs, and on the backs of those people, on the backs of those values. And that's why I want to make this film. This film has to be a wake-up call to everybody to understand that if we lose that core ideology, history teaches us that maybe not now, 10 years or 20 years, but in 30 to 40 years from now, American superpowerdom will start to deteriorate, will start to diminish, which will eventually affect the economics of the children, of the people who voted. It will affect their ability to get a job. Because as America's superpower depletes, your economic power depletes, your soft power depletes, your ability to travel to different places and create trade deals, your status as the world's moral compass, which makes countries look up to you and want to join with you in your path forward, all that starts to diminish. Now, I don't want to be dramatic. It doesn't start now. Probably won't start in 10 or 20 years from now. America is still far and away the greatest country on earth. But if this trend continues and we continue to vote against our core ideology and value system, then in 30, 40 years from now, we will start to see a deterioration of our ability to attract the world's best and brightest, for our ability to attract PhDs to want to work here, for our ability to attract companies, set their companies up here, for our ability to attract capital and investment dollars, for our ability to attract factories, for our ability to attract anything. They will choose somewhere else. I know it's hard to believe now. I'm also of the notion that we will get past this. But history teaches us very clearly that we travel down this path for too long, we will start to diminish. And our country will start to no longer be the world's moral compass, progressive leader, and in turn, you will have economic downturn, which will, of course, affect everyone's lives back here. For those exact people who voted for economic progress and for a change in the system, to get rid of those politicians, it will come back to bite them. And that's why we need to make this film. It is a wake-up call to all those people to have them understand that I don't care whether you vote Republican or Democrat. Film is not about Democrat, Republican. It's not about liberal or conservative. It's not about rural necessarily versus urban. It is about the core ideology, ideology of America. And if you reject that, you will bring down your own country. Again, not now, but probably in the future. That's why this film is so important to happen now and to be shown now. For people to understand that even though they may not have liked Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump was an assault on American core ideology and the value system. And it's important for people to understand that now so they can make their decision, maybe with a different mindset in the future.